Hello, Nick here. Today we're going to go through my retro CRT title pack Phantasm. So when you download the pack and you import it into your editor of choice, there's going to be 16 different folders. And in each one of these folders is a different font style. And when you open up each folder, you're going to see large, medium, and small. And now what I did was I scanned each of these fonts in 3 different sizes. And so you can see here, each one of these has large, medium, and small. And the reason I did that was when you're making titles, I didn't want you to have to resize the font in order to get the size that you want, because when you do that, you actually lose the CRT texture within the fonts. And what I wanted consistency throughout the fonts. And so if I zoom in here, you can see that the texture is the same in the 3 different fonts. And now say if I had this large font here and I wanted to make it this size as the medium font here, I'd have to decrease the size, but then when we zoom in, let's make it full screen, you can see the difference between the texture in the 2. And I didn't want that to take place. I wanted there to be uniformity throughout the fonts. I mean, you can make endless combinations of different movie titles, music video titles. You can colorize them. There's lots of stuff you can do. And today we're going to build this title page here. All right, let's get started. So first, what we're going to do is to give this video clip here some texture, some CRT texture, we're going to go into the bonus texture folder. Again, what I'm using here is I'm using the Pro Pack, and the texture folder is only available in the Pro Pack. So then I'm going to grab this texture 1. And you can see here it says use overlay. So we're going to go to blending mode and I'm going to select overlay. And what that is doing is that is putting in all of this texture into the video clip. And next what we're going to do is we're going to go into this folder right here, Vamp. And we're going to go into the large folder. And we're going to go into the uppercase, and we are going to grab the letter N. Let's drag that right on top. Then we're going to come back and we're going to go into the lowercase. We're going to spell out night, I, G, H, T. Okay, so this is a pretty tedious task. But to help speed it up, what we do is when we select the blending mode, select screen, we just copy that blending mode and then we paste it to the rest. And so all of these letters are scanned on the same vertical plane. So you're not going to have to adjust them vertically. All you have to do is adjust them horizontally to get the proper kerning. So select I, let's get the spacing correct. G. And then what I like to do, once I've gotten the spacing correct on the letters, I select all of them and I nest them. Let's just call this night. And the reason I do that is that now I can move this as one word without having to go in and individually move every single word to get the placement correct. So once you get the horizontal spacing, the kerning correct, I nest it. And then I select the blending mode as screen. And now I can adjust it vertically and even horizontally a bit if you need to get it perfectly in the space. All right, there we go. All right, that looks good. Okay, now we're gonna write tear underneath here. So I'm gonna go back and we're gonna go into Fright Night, number 3 right here. And instead of using the large, we're going to use the medium folder. Since this is a little bit of a subtext down here, we want to make it a little bit smaller. And again, we don't want to resize it, because if we resize it, this texture here that's built into all of these characters, see how it matches with the background? If we resize it, it won't match up anymore. And so we want to refrain from resizing, just so all of there's uniformity throughout these gaps and everything is the same. All right, so let's go into medium, and let's go into uppercase. And let's grab the T. And then let's go into lowercase, and grab the E. All right. And let's paste that blending mode. And then what we can do is we can turn off this top layer here, the night. We turn that off so we can see what we're doing. And let's adjust these. All right. Now that we have that, I'm going to actually replace one of these R's, because I don't like that they're the same and I want to make them a little different. So I'm actually going to go back, and I'm going to go to the uppercase R, and I'm going to select there. I'm going to replace that R. So this is something that you can actually do really easily, is that once you've spelled out a word, instead of going through and respelling it, if you want to do a different word, you can actually copy and paste what you've already done here, and then you can just select the letter you want to replace it with and hold the Option key, at least in Premiere, and then you can replace it easily without having to go through and redo the blending mode or respelling stuff. You can go through, and I can go ahead and replace all these letters with different letters if I want to, and it'll keep their same attributes. So that looks a little better to me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to nest all of these. Call that terror. And then we're going to change that blending mode to screen. Let's turn on that night layer. Now we can adjust this, put it in position. Move it a bit. There we go. And now what we want to do is we want to change the color of terror here. And there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can easily just throw on a tint effect. And what that tint effect will do is it'll just replace the white with any color you want. And that looks good. But the downside of doing it this way is that you lose, I'll zoom in here, you lose some of the chromatic aberration. As you can see above here, every letter has this chromatic aberration where you see this fringing of color on the edges of the reds, yellows, and blues that are inherent in CRT monitors that they were filmed on. You lose all that with the tint effect. So if I get rid of the tint effect, you can see you kind of lose that color fringe and that chromatic aberration. So a way to get around that, there's a little trick. What we can do is we can take this nested sequence here and we can duplicate it. And what you want to do is you want to turn this top layer to a, let me zoom out. You want to turn this top layer, instead of a screen, you want to change it to a difference map. All right, and then you want to select that bottom layer and turn that tint layer back on and change it to the color opposite that you want it to be. And because the reason for that is because you're using that difference blending mode, that if you want this to be red, it needs to be this cyan color. So let's go ahead and select that cyan color. Okay, and there you go, now it's red. And if we zoom in here, let's go full screen, you can see it actually brought back some of that color from behind. So now you kind of have this red, and then you got this blue fringe around the corners here. That looks pretty cool. So that's one way you can colorize it. All right, and another way you can change the color is with a track matte key. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna grab a light effect from my pack Reverie here. Let's see, which one should I grab? Some movement in here. Let's grab this one, Bold 1. So I'm gonna grab Bold 1 and we're gonna throw it right underneath Terror. Let's go with that. I'm gonna move it over so it kind of lines up with the word. And then I'm gonna grab a track mat key. And you don't need to use my clip from my pack Reverie here. You could use any clip you want to with the track mat key, anything that has some motion, right? And so let's go ahead and drag that right onto that light effect, and let's select the matte as video layer 5, which is the layer that nested sequence is sitting on. And then let's set it to Luma Matte. Right, and now you have kind of this 80s color vibe going on. And we can change the in and out points here by using your slip tool. Have it kind of disappear. So it's just another technique you guys can use. But my preferred method of colorizing these texts is with the difference blending mode. So once you got it to a place you like, and I think this looks pretty good, we can go into this nested sequence here, and let's make it look like Terror is being written on screen. So easy way to do that is just to bring these individual video clips back a couple frames, and so they're staggered. So frame by frame, each letter appears. So now if we go back when it comes on the screen, let's move this back a little bit so Terror comes on a little later. Light comes on and then Terror writes on. So just a cool little easy effect to do. And then if we want to take it a little further, we can go back into the bonus texture folder here. And let's look at some of these glitches here. You can grab this glitch. You can have that here and use the screen blending mode. Or what we can do, we can use a track mat key. So take that glitch effect, put it underneath night, grab the track mat key, drag that onto that glitch effect, and then select the matte as the layer that the night nested sequence is sitting on, which is video layer 4. You want to composite using the Luma Matte. And so then now you see, you kind of get this glitch as it comes on screen. So let's move this over a bit. So we kind of see it appear. And then let's just make Terror come on a little later. All right, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Toodles.